Jeff, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What's up, Max Ordination? Here we are. It's a glorious, glorious Wednesday.
Oh, it is.
United
It's
States of
Thursday
America.
for you, isn't it?
It's Thursday for me. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the future, but, you know, same old shit, man. Just
Well,
inching
with those
closer and
sunglasses on,
closer. What's that?
I can tell the future looks bright.
Dude, I am in love with these glasses, dude. Here, check
I can
these things
tell.
out. Check these out.
I've seen them. You had them when you were last here. I've seen
No,
them.
I didn't. These are
Yeah,
new.
you did.
No, you see how the bridge is also glass?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Dude,
it's fancy.
I don't think I'll ever buy another high-end pair of glasses. Like, why would you? Like, we're not sponsored. We are not paid by this company, right? The sunglass company is Gooder,
Mhm.
Goodr. And I
I've
first
seen
learned
them.
about them at REI. Like, I saw a pair of
Okay.
their glasses. They had like, I forget, they had a national park on them. I forget what national park, Red Rock or something like that. And they're yellow and orange. And I was like, damn, those are flashy. They're definitely me. I need to have them. So I grabbed them. They're 25 bucks. And I'm like, shit. So I jump on their website and they've got all these glasses from like crazy flashy to your straight black, right? Now we're talking, just your average pair of sunglasses, 25 bucks. Oh, you
Hmm.
want polarized lenses? $30. Like, dude, why would you buy anything else? Why would you go with an Oakley?
So
Or tell me, give me
let
your
me.
reasoning besides the name
Okay.
brand.
Besides the name brand, so the theory is on fishing boats that if you have a cheap pair of sunglasses, you will never lose it. And the moment you spend more than 50 bucks on a pair of sunglasses, it's going in the drink. And that's pretty confirmed. That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Um,
So
I
you're
never
just
bought expensive
solidifying my
sunglasses. Yeah, but so I never bought expensive sunglasses till I started getting the Oakley standard issue has a law enforcement discount, so I could get like what Oakleys I wanted for super cheap.
yeah.
But I also started paying attention to lenses. So the ANSI rating for all Oakleys have an ANSI rating, so there's basically safety glasses.
Yep.
Their rating is actually really high, and you can get prescriptions in their glass from Oakley. Other than that, I won't buy any other like name brand sunglasses. With the exception of I also won't buy gas station sunglasses because they don't filter out enough light to actually help my eyes. Like they'll make it dim, but the UV rays will still get through. So that's an important thing that I look out for.
You know, the prescription lens part of it, if you got a
Mm.
birth defect and you can't see, I get it. You need to probably go with a
I'm getting older and older. It's getting harder to see.
So, we're going to talk about muscle relaxation, a little bit of body positioning,
Okay.
and then butt stock placement and how it all kind of ties to recoil management. So, continuing on from where we started, we talked about bone support and natural point of aim and kind of the truth behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Natural point of aim is not body alignment and it can be
Correct.
proven, right? And then you talk about bone support, and bone support is built from the ground up. So you want stability vertically, you got to have better bone support. So it's just that simple. So now the third fundamental of marksmanship is muscle relaxation. And you can hear people talk about muscle relaxation, and everyone will describe it a different way, right? In the most basic sense, I think I've heard people tell me you need total relaxation. I don't know if that's truly possible. Is it?
No, I people that say they can be totally relaxed. If you're totally relaxed, you can't even hold your head up, right? There is always going to be tension in your body somewhere.
Well, I mean, if you got your cheek piece set and your head is resting, like, essentially, I think you could possibly get into a state of total relaxation. You have the right bone support, got your rear bag in place, your cheek piece is set to where your head just naturally falls right in your field of view, right? Your body's relaxed, everything. Like, I think you could get there, but if you get to a point where you have total relaxation, then when we talk about applying pressure to the grip and pulling the rifle into your body to take up some of that soft tissue instead of loading the bipods, right? We could get into loading the bipods in a different episode, but everything you do, you want it to be consistent. Can I do this tech? Is that better?
Oh, there we go.
Where did I leave off?
You ended at, you don't think it's totally possible because if you have your cheek rest, and then we kind of went dead.
All right, so stupid ass VPN, dude. Like you just can't win with these things.
Oh, yeah. You can't use a VPN to stream.
God damn it. Anyways, so I think you can achieve total relaxation. You got your cheek piece, you got your rear bag, you got all of these things in place. You are relaxed behind the rifle. But if you are in total relaxation, right? You are 100% relying on your bone support, which is good. You have good natural point of aim, which is also good, right? Now you're completely relaxed, but some of the techniques that we teach and other people teach, which is to pull the rifle into your body, right? To take up some of that soft tissue. So if you're doing that, you have tension. And there's a method behind that madness, right? Because we preach don't load the bipods. The bipods cannot be loaded from every position. So you're changing the way recoil is felt. So you're trying to have consistency throughout every level that you would shoot. So you're pulling that rifle into your shoulder, you're creating a tighter connection. So there's obviously muscle tension, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, so I think it's important to understand when we talk about muscle relaxation, we're talking about specific areas that can affect your bone support, your stability, or the way the rifle recoils, right?
Yeah, I think you have to, the way I look at it is muscle groups. So I'm going to stick true to what I say is you can't be 100% relaxed behind a rifle and shoot it because, again, even in the most relaxed position, which would be prone, your head still has to be attached to a rifle, which means you're still using some tiny muscles to hold your head up to look through the scope.
Yeah.
There's some sort of tension somewhere, right? But it's that large muscle group that we want to relax versus the small muscle groups, the fine motor skills that we're just using to fine tune our techniques.
Yeah, I would agree. So muscle relaxation really comes into play when we're talking about how do I get bone support? How do I know I have bone support? Well, I mean, you put yourself in a kneeling position and you're in this kneeling. And when you truly relax and rely on your bone structure, you're aiming above the target.
Yeah.
So instead of fixing your position and building better bone support, we'll just, and now your whole core is tight. You're using all of these muscles to hold you in position. And it's just, it's a downward spiral from there, right?
Yeah.
Because, like fundamental errors are almost like tolerance stacking. You know what tolerance stacking is, right? And if you think about it, if you have some bone support, but then you're failing in one area. So now you're using muscle to compensate for failure of bone support. Well, now you've got this uncontrollable wobble, this wobble zone, this shakiness, like whatever you're seeing through the scope, you can't stay completely steady on the target. So now that carries over into you're anticipating the shot or you're excited, right? You see some movement and you're trying to time it up. So now you're not breathing. Now you're not firing on the exhale. And that carries over into you're so focused on the reticle being on the target and firing at a certain time that you slap and jerk the trigger. So it's just kind of like a snowball effect where one problem just starts to create more and more and more. And, it's how do you train it? How do you train out of that?
And so I have like a checkpoint. Any position I get into, so you can fight or you can muscle your way into one good shot most of the time, right? You can struggle yourself into taking that one shot on that animal or that target, all right? But you're gonna have a hard time struggling, like fighting your way into shooting groups. So my checkpoint really has just always been, no matter what position I'm in, can I sit in this exact position for 20 minutes
Yeah.
and still be able to shoot the rifle? So I don't know if like, like what your method is or what your technique is to sort of get yourself into those positions. But for me, even now, it's always trial and error. Every spot I get into, if it's unfamiliar, I'll just mess around until I get in that spot. But the way I know if I've achieved it or not is, can I sit in this position for more than 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Because there's times I'm sitting on the side of a mountain glassing for an animal behind a rifle for 20, 30 minutes, right? Or up on a rooftop, over watching a building or something, or supporting PD or something that I may have to be up there for 3 hours. Can I sit in that position for that extended period of time? And without muscle relaxation, the answer is no.
I think when you're in that training phase, like everything, I feel like we always say the same shit.
Mhm.
Everything is habitual, right? If you want to hear it, if you want to hear it worded a different way, you will not rise to the occasion, but you will fall back to your level of training.
Yep.
So
Same
as
here.
you get into training mode, you're at the range and you have a system and you're like, okay, today I'm going to work on this. I think with muscle relaxation, bone support, like all of these fundamentals, like you have to forcefully like pick these flaws out. Like you get into your hunting position. You're like, you know what? For this next hunt, I am gonna shoot off my fucking tripod. Like it's the landscape calls for me to shoot off of a tripod. So you start practicing seated and kneeling position, but you have to not want to be so eager to take the shot, but you have to be eager to find the perfect position. And then you got to want to do it again and again and again and again and again. And, 1,000 times later, you are near flawless at getting into the same position every time with those fundamentals in place. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I
So,
think too, people kind of get stuck they get caught in a trap of, look, I'm just behind a rifle. I can relax. I can look through the glass and I can shoot groups. It's not that complicated, right? But if you look at scenarios, here a perfect scenario would be me sitting on a hillside. I'm shooting off a tripod. I'm in a seated position, and I know I'm going to have a mover that's moving left to right, and it's moving from directly in front of me to my right. Now I'm right-handed. Unless I practice that motion from directly in front of me with a right hand moving target to my right, the first time I do that, I'm going to drop my rifle.
it's going to be rough. Yeah.
Not only am I not going to have muscle relaxation or be able to take that shot, but I could literally drop my rifle because it's so unfamiliar, right? So
And it's hard to turn into your shooting side.
yeah. So
Mm.
the point I'm making is that every technique that we teach for muscle relaxation, bone support, um, you're always going to fall back to your training, because if you don't train those exact positions, if you don't train that exact supported position or technique, when you're out in the field, you're not going to have it. You're not going to figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, just to recap, looking through your scope, if you see vertical movement, bone support problem. If you see like with bone support, if you have a bone support problem, that probably insinuates that you're also using muscle. And then the natural point of aim, left and right movement, or you get a little tick, right? It's kind of dominantly moving one direction, and that's just you fighting the rifle, trying to get back on target, try to keep it on target, right? And we're gonna have to show some videos, probably show them again. I think we've showed them in the past, and I use them for the classes. And I'm like, look, this is, probably one of the top 10 shooters in the country. Watch his reticle. He's in the prone position. And like you
So
see him aiming at the target, and he's got this nasty tick that keeps popping off to the right. And you're
yep.
like, oh, like he's
And I
not
think
naturally aiming at the target.
and I know we're going to talk about it because you brought it up earlier, but it's also important to note that you can't track any of these if you're not already set up with your rifle properly. So
Yeah.
a lot of muscle support or muscle relaxation um, mistakes are just from improper stock placement, right? You're trying to figure out what's going on. You're trying to like diagnose the issue because you have that left to right, or you have this movement, and you're automatically thinking, oh, well, I've got this muscle relaxation issue, and it could be a stock placement issue, right? So setting up your rifle, like the fundamentals are always first, and then we can build off of that. But again, stacking tolerances, you have to start in the beginning and work your way left to right.
You know, it's funny you brought that up because it's like we spend so much time on day one of PR1 going through how to set up your rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, it's to the point where sometimes I sit back and I ask myself, like, when you get into a car, anybody, you get into a car for the first time, if you get into my truck, anybody taller than me, what's the first thing they're going to do?
Move the seat back.
They're going to move the seat back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that I'm shorter than, if I get in their car, I'm going to move the seat up. So we take all of this care, right? You get into a car, you move the seat, you change the height, you fix the upright so that you're sitting in a position that you want. Then you look at your rear view mirror, you make your adjustment, you adjust your side mirror. We go through this whole ordeal to set the car up to drive.
And we do it without thinking.
Yeah. But then when it
Automatic.
comes time to set up your rifle, you're just a lazy piece of shit.
I know.
And you're like, the length of pull is too long. My scope, my eye relief is bad. I'm just gonna move my body.
Yep.
I'm just gonna fucking adjust myself, right? I might as well just take that same analogy, that same thought process. And from now on, I'm just gonna sit on a phone book on any car that I can't touch the pedals on, which
Yeah,
would be
fuck
like
it.
all of them.
It's good enough.
Yeah. So yeah, you're 100% right that rifle setup plays a big part in it, right? And you should not let the rifle tell you what to do. And then I'm a big proponent of, and I'll have students that show up with AI rifles, with MDT chassis, and some of these have adjustments where it's like you can raise the butt pad, just the butt pad, or you can rotate the butt pad, or you
Mm-hmm.
can slide the cheek piece one way or the other. And my first question to them is always, do you ever plan on shooting with your other hand? Like, are you a competitor? Because this is probably not a good idea. You should not be setting your rifle up for one side of your body if you ever find yourself in a position to shoot with your other side.
Yep.
So we get that knocked out of the way. And then it's to the point where, like, we go through this whole class, we talk about rifle setup, and I'm like, are you good? Are you sure you're good? And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, did you move anything? He's like, no, I was good before. I'm like, take that goddamn scope off. Like, take it off. I want to see that you're good. Everybody's going to zero. So I don't know what the big deal is about taking your rifle apart. We're all going to go to the range and zero.
We all
You're
got to
going
do it again.
to, you're going to learn a new prone position. You're going to have the buttstock in a different location. Like, everything is going to be different. It's going to feel weird for you, whether you're an experienced person who's being taught the right way finally, or you're a brand new shooter. Either
Mm-hmm.
way, like, we're all going to go zero. So take your goddamn scope off and let's set it up right. And so, like, I preach rifle setup, and then buttstock placement is huge with rifle setup, because if the buttstock is sitting too low, not only is it affecting recoil, but it's affecting your head position on the gun. So that's changing your eye relief. So what'll happen, I was like, look, you want that buttstock so high that recoil is not going to allow the muzzle to move. So recoil happens, the muzzle should stay on target. We're looking for a specific amount of recoil management. They're like, okay, okay, okay. I got it. I got it. I'm like, all right, cool. Check on everybody, watch everybody. Some people are doing it right. And I'm like, you want to be comfortable. Like, why is a 260-pound man trying to flatten his body out the same size as a 10-year-old girl
Yep.
with their bipods all the way collapsed to 6-inch position? It's like, what the fuck, you know?
Well, it's funny. Like our buddy Thomas, when he came back, first thing he did was get rid of his fucking he ditched his adapter, his
Yeah,
folding stock adapter, and was like, yeah, my fucking bipods are too short. I'm like, yeah,
yeah, yep,
like I'm all of 5'6.5", 7 on a good day, and
yeah.
I've got these long ass bipods. Like it's what's commonly out there is like these short Magpul little 3 to 5s or whatever
The
sixes,
Harris
like
6 to 9s.
or yeah, the Harris like that's 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 a very specific use for those, and it's really not what we're using them for.
It irritates me so much, dude, because those bipods are everywhere in the
Mhm.
military.
Yeah,
The Marines here are using them on the M40, the Mark 12, or sorry, the Mark 22s, the Mark 13s. Like every gun is using those bipods.
and I don't hate the Harris bipods. I actually think for deployment they're fantastic. Just get the longer set.
Yeah, it's not about hating. It's about that you have 6 to 9 inches and you're wearing body armor and
Yeah,
magazines and kit, and you are twice as thick as a normal human being, and you're
yeah.
trying to lower your body down to this rifle instead of bringing the rifle up to you. The only gun that they put the tall bipods on is the one not for snipers. It's it blows my mind. But people are all about that shit because they don't understand the recoil, don't understand setting up the rifle for the shooter. So what I started doing, and I've probably done this, let's say 4 years now. I was definitely doing it before I took the contract here for the Marines. I'll have every student, right? I'm like, here's the deal. I need that buttstock high up on that collarbone. I need your bipods extended so that you're in a comfortable position. You're not cranking your neck back. Your chest is up, your head is up, and you're looking through the scope and your rifle set up so that you feel good. So what I need is go grab a cartridge. And they're like, a cartridge? I'm like, yeah, go grab, a bullet, a projectile with a case and grab one. So they go grab a cartridge. And what we'll do is we'll tape it to their buttstock so that the pointed end, the projectile side, is facing the shooter at the very top of the butt pad. And it's sticking out over the butt pad, probably an inch and a half.
Hmm.
Duct tape that shit on there so it can't come off. I'm like, all right, now put that buttstock high up on that collarbone as center line as you can. And if that bullet's poking you, you're wrong. And they're like, oh. And so, like, they'll put it in position. They're like, damn, it's poking me. I'm like, well, it should tell you that you're wrong then, right? Get it higher, get it higher. And what do they learn? They start noticing that they got to extend their bipods more because they
Hmm.
can't get down that low without getting basically stabbed by their own projectile. So it's one of those makeshift tools that you can apply to put yourself in the right position.
Hmm.
Now, once you got the right buttstock placement, now you can set your scope on your rifle and actually get the eye relief that you need. And this is going to carry over to tripod, supported positions, barricades, like you name it. Like the goal is that every single position, your body doesn't change. The way you and the rifle connect to each other, it's the same every time. So,
And we've talked about that before, where um, complaints of people, saying, I shoot from prone and then I shoot from a supported position, or I shoot from a barricade or whatever, and my point of impact shifts all the time. And we've talked about that, you know, based on how they're setting their rifle up, on how to mitigate that. And a lot of times that's all it is.
yeah. And that leads us into the next thing. You set up your rifle the right way, you have the buttstock where it's supposed to be. Now you can better manage recoil, right? Now, a lot of it comes down to your alignment, right? Body alignment is directly related to how the rifle is going to react during recoil. So
Mhm.
if you want to stay within half a mil of the target, then your alignment needs to be pretty damn perfect and your buttstock placement needs to be pretty damn perfect. The higher the caliber, the worse the recoil. I don't think that's a secret to anybody, right? So you'll see a lot of these competitive shooters who will basically, I'm guilty of it too. Like I shoot a 6BR. People are shooting 6-dasher. They're shooting all of these high ballistic coefficient bullets out of these low recoiling systems. So they're
Yeah,
getting
and the
away
rifles
with,
and they're adding 40 pounds of weight to it.
and you're adding weight to the rifle too. So you're getting away with all of these fundamental errors. You throw your rifle down, it weighs 22 pounds. You don't have your shoulder really tight into the rifle. You're doing free recoil bullshit, like whatever
Like
it
an S
is.
class sled.
I was just watching a video the other day. The dude set his rifle down and he's like, free recoil is a method that I use, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Okay.
this is only applicable to you and your rifle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't apply to anybody else shooting a hunting rifle, a lightweight rifle, a 300 Win Mag, because when does recoil happen, Jeph? When the primer is struck or when the bullet exits the muzzle? And I'll ask this question in class, and 50% of the class would be like, oh, it's when the bullet exits the muzzle. It's like, no. When that powder starts to change into a gas and force that bullet down the barrel,
It's now a rocket engine.
you're feeling recoil. So I try to put the math as easy as possible. And I'm like, okay, guys, here it is. At 100 yards, 1 mil equals 3.6 inches. And they're like, okay, got it. All right. At 10 yards, we're just going to move the decimal over, right? So now 1 mil is 0.36 inches. Check.
Check.
Okay. So now we're going to move to 1 yard and we're going to have to move that decimal over one more. So now 1 mil at 1 yard is 0.036 inches.
Mm-hmm.
That's not very big. That's a third of an inch, right? Now let's cut that in half. Now we're at 0.018. That's half a mil. If your rifle during recoil moves 0.018 inches at the muzzle before the bullet exits the barrel, you have changed your point of impact downrange by a half of a mil.
Mm-hmm.
So people ask, like, I don't understand why I can't group well. Like, well, what does your recoil look like? What does your recoil look like in the prone? What does your recoil look like in the barricade, off the tripod? If you don't have consistent recoil from every one of these positions, then of course your goddamn group is going to change because you're not managing that recoil.
And I think that, and maybe we need to teach better or explain better, but I think it needs to be more common knowledge that recoil management isn't for your follow-up shot. Yes, it helps, but that's only part of the equation. Recoil management is so that the bullet that you just sent down range goes where you wanted it to go. If recoil is going to happen before that bullet exits the barrel.
100%.
And I don't think that's, and maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think that's common knowledge enough.
Well, I don't think a lot of people are teaching it. Like when we teach Precision Rifle 1, we are starting from the very zero. And we are teaching every major thing that this student needs to know to be consistent, to be precise, and to have a foundation that allows them to grow. To me, that's important to understand how recoil management plays into that factor.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of most people's PR1 is really the latter half of our PR1 and into PR2. I think they skip the beginning portion and they go straight into, this is the math.
I 100% agree with you.
This is sort of how you get behind your rifle, and that's kind of it, right?
Hey, this is the fundamentals. This is how we're going to set our rifle up. All right, we're going to go zero, we're going to go group, and then we're going to go shoot long range because that's what everybody's here for, right? Let's shoot 1,000 yards.
Yeah, we'll have you shooting 1,000 yards by the end of the day. And it's like, ugh.
And then, hey, tomorrow we're going to learn how to shoot off of tripods. Like, you haven't
100%.
fucking mastered the basics yet. Get off that tripod, you loser. Like,
Yep.
that's why I want to say somewhere around 2015, 2016, I used to call our course long range one, LR1, LR2, LR3, right?
Mhm.
And I got away from that because I was tired of the assumption that they were just going to shoot distance.
Yeah.
Distance is cool, but if you can't do the 100-yard shit, you can't do the distance shit.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like my buddy Dave. He puts on he's got a post PR class, a PR1 class. Good dude, very old school. And his class, now we have a difference of opinions on some things in his class. But he doesn't shoot out past 100 yards. He's got he's got an idea of, look, cops don't need to fucking shoot beyond 100 yards. I'm going to teach them everything in a week, 3 days, everything around basic fundamentals. And if they want to take another class and shoot further, cool.
yeah,
So that entire class is just based around the basics, right?
yeah.
If you can't shoot at 100 yards, you don't need to go further.
Oh, like, I agree with it, even though like we have a class format and we will shoot long range, right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
it's our job to make sure they're ready for it. And then when we are doing it, to stay on that ass with all the fundamentals, right? So if you look at our PR1, we spend, man, I want to say we spend about 40% of day one and day two in the classroom learning
Mm-hmm.
fundamentals, rifle setup. How do you work your scope? How do I read the reticle? What is external ballistics? How do I set up my ballistic calculator? Like, what is wind? 40% of the class is in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
The other 40% is spent at the 100-yard line working on precision, fundamentals, building those good habits. And then you got 20%, which is on the long range.
Yeah.
And it's dude, it never fucking fails. Never fails. Day one, we will never see the long range. Like, it just doesn't happen. We're
Yeah,
at
of
the
course.
100-yard line and we are focused on precision, consistency, building those good habits. Day two, we finish classes, head out to the zero range. We're zeroing. We go through some grouping drills. All right, cool. We got about 3 hours, fellas. Ladies, let's go to the long range. Now we're on the long range. And like, few people take some shots. I'm like, all right, pay attention. Hey, you just shot. What was your recoil bubble? And they're like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, what the fuck changed
Start
from the
over.
100 to here? Nothing changed. The
Yeah.
only thing that we did was extend the distance and throw some steel targets out there. But
Mm-hmm.
everything that you practice at the 100 just went out the window. Like, what's wrong with you? They're like, I'm like, you needed to be yelled at. That's what it is. You needed somebody to be there and have no fear of correcting you when you make a mistake. Right.
Yep.
And we don't see enough of that. There's too many, I don't want to hurt the students' feelings. Fuck your feelings. You're here to learn
Mm-hmm.
and to build a foundation. And I'm here to help you do that, you know? So yeah, huge. I put a huge amount of value in not just the fundamentals, but rifle setup and recoil management. Like, I would say those three are really, really huge to me because you have to build those habits. You have to recognize those things on a subconscious level. Getting better at win calls will come with time. Like, you can't expect on day two of the first time in your life shooting a long gun to be an expert win call. Like, it just doesn't happen. So we have to, hey, we're shooting a 400-yard target. And everybody's like, okay. I'm like, go through your shooter's checklist, pre-fire checklist. What are we doing? Dial my dope, build my position, set my bipods, get my general natural point of aim, look over the scope, orient my body. Okay, settle down, look through the scope, adjust my parallax, find my natural point of aim. Now, what's my wind call? Okay, we're at 400, 0.4. We got, a 20-mile-an-hour wind. 0.4 times 5 is 2 mils. Hold 2 mils left. It's full value. Like you gotta, and you have to do this every single time, Jeph. Every
Yep.
time. Right. I only wish we had more time, but I'd probably lose my shit. I'd be gray like you if I had to.
I'm getting grayer.
Yeah. But so, anyways, that's this episode, man. Wanted to hit muscle relaxation, talk about a little bit about rifle setup and how many what would you say the percentage is of people who don't have their rifle set up for that recoil management?
Oh, in
Me and
PR1,
you met each other. What year was that? 2016, 17,
20, no, it was 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
If you remember, we met because you and Melissa came to my class,
Mhm.
and we we went through the whole thing. Now, the class from back then is not like the class it is today. Do you remember whether or not I focused that heavily on rifle setup back then like I do now?
I would say not as heavily, but it was definitely both of our rifles, mine and hers, we completely changed our setup
Yeah.
because they weren't set up right. And mind you, I brought a rifle that I had used in the field in service for 6 or 7 years,
Yeah.
and it wasn't set up right.
I don't think, in 2015, I was still pushing like, hey, we got to set up our rifle. Here's how you set the length of pull. Here's how you set your eye relief. Like, all of the things that are supposed to happen,
Mhm.
but I hadn't quite dug into why.
It definitely wasn't. It wasn't as hammered as it is now.
Yeah,
We
for sure.
but we still went over it because
We
we
did.
both did change our rifles.
Yeah. But I mean, it it's important. That's all I
It's an
could say. It's
evolution.
fucking important.
It's an evolution.
Yeah. So, anyways, man, the final thing I was trying to pull up the video. Do you remember Days of Thunder
Yeah,
with Tom Cruise?
yeah.
Okay.
Watched it a couple times. I couldn't like cite the whole fucking movie, but I've seen it a few times.
All right. All right. All right. So, if you haven't seen Days of Thunder, Tom Cruise is a race car driver. He's trying to get into stock car. So he's trying to get into NASCAR, be a racer. So he drives a car. Turns out he's really good, right? Can drive really fast. But then once you get him in a crowd of people, like he's getting bumped around, he's blowing through tires faster than everybody else. And him and his pit crew, Harry, his chief, they're just always fighting with each other. And so, like, they're at the bar, right? This is like at the 21:30 mark in the movie. This is what I was trying to pull up. Harry says, Cole, I need you to tell me how you want the car set up. I can do anything that you want. You tell me how to set the car up. And Cole says, just set the goddamn car up. Like, set it up and make sure that it does what I need it to do. He's like, tell me what you need it to do. You just got to tell me.
Yep.
And so Tom Cruise leans in. He's like, Harry, I don't know what it needs to do. I don't know any of this stuff. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, wheel spacers, shock spacers. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. And, his pit crew chief looks at him. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, they told me get in the car and race. I got in the car and raced, and I was really good, but I don't know any shit about the car. Right. And so for a moment there, he's like, how the fuck did you make it this far? And I was watching this the other day, and the first thing it related to me was about 80% of your professional competitive shooters
Yeah.
are Tom Cruise and Days of Thunder. I don't know anything about this. They just
I
gave
don't
me
know
a
shit about
rifle
the
and told me to
equipment.
shoot, and I was good.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're gonna have to make a spoof video of that shit, dude.
It's funny because that's probably 90% of professional golfers also. They don't know dick about their equipment.
No
They just,
shit.
they just know how to golf. Literally, that's it.
Awesome, man. Hey, it was good catching up with you today.
Yeah, we will hopefully soon, maybe within a week or two. As you can see, my podcast studio is still a disaster because this is still my office. I'm hoping to have the new setup here in a few weeks. So hopefully in a few weeks, it'll be a little more appealing visually.
It's all good, man. We've come to expect nothing but the best.
Nothing but the best.
All right, brother. I appreciate your time, man. Everybody else, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys sticking with us through this year, last year. We're just going to keep rolling out these episodes. If you got something you want to hear about, if you got any suggestions for us, feel free to comment, spit them out. We'll take everything. Until next time, I'm Tyler. That's Jeph. We're out.